Okay, let's move into our final topic for today, which is talking about promoting diversity within the construction industry. So, how can we utilize technology to promote diversity within the construction industry, do you think?
Technology can be a great support in this area to try and promote diversity. There's a number of different ways that we can do this. For example, we can use technology for recruitment and hiring, using AI-driven hiring platforms where we can use and embed artificial intelligence in the recruitment process to drive out unconscious biasness by the interviewers, and focusing on people's skills and qualifications rather on their demographics or their features and outlooks, I think is really, really important area that can grow. How we score candidates, those of us that sat in interview processes, that using technology try and identify and score individual candidates so we actually can have a diverse pool. And, as I said, unconscious bias, whether we admit it or not, is all inherent within us. And with the more tools or technology we can use to assist to reduce and eliminate this process, the better. Other aspects technology can help is working remotely and flexibly, and that's where my institution, or Mohammed and my institution, the University College of State Management, is great. So we can actually work from home. We can use collaborative tools and work internationally on different platforms, different time zones, and I think that's a massive step to supporting a diverse people into the workplace. Training and education, I'm sure every organisation should be introducing a number of different training programs to support diversity, such as unconscious bias, inclusivity, challenging stereotypes, etc. And I think that is extremely important to start looking at, becoming more aware of ourselves and obviously fostering a better and more inclusive workplace.
Yeah.
I know a lot of colleagues are actually moving towards analytics, of actually looking at, for example, analytics of staff or interviews, metrics and dashboards to try and see, why isn't there so many women from a Muslim background applying for this job, or why is it that there's a dearth of disability applicants for this job, and start to really try and challenge our practices by actually saying that actually maybe it's the words that we use and maybe we can be more inclusive, or is a particular job board sites that we can try and target these individuals. And I think there's a lot of real opportunities that we can actually look at to really try and support ourselves in growing a diverse workforce by using technology.
Yeah, I like the part about the technology with being able to work from home and being able to do other things and look after your children, or kind of, be able to go to the gym or whatever it might be. There's parts to it what will allow you to do more than what you would have been able to. And, those who are enabled, the able-bodied, individuals who cannot go and work in a certain office because that office is on a first floor and, it's an old building and there's no lift and they can no longer get up the stairs. So that rules them out of that position. I think having technology being able to allow those individuals to work and feel that they can take part in the greater picture, I think that's brilliant. And the way your university set out is, it allows for that. It allows for that diversity. It allows for you to work remote. It allows for you to work in and be able to go and pick up your child at 3:00 and things like that. So it's I think that side of flexibility has, and we've only really been introduced to this side of technology, I would say, through the pandemic. Prior to that, it was frowned upon. What do you mean you don't want to come to the office? And when someone does break a leg and they have to work from home, it's like, oh gosh, they've got to go on sick leave for 3 months. No, you can have a laptop, you can work from home. It's okay. So I think it's definitely something that I personally see as something that can really help us work. But at the same time, I think there's another side of it in terms of diversity as well, is where you can be overworked as an individual. And, they might think, right, well, okay, we've been a bit lenient with you. You can go drop your kids off, pick them up, but actually I want you to work 2 extra hours instead. There's a fine line as well, I think, in that respect with what technology can play as well. And I've seen the sides of it where, someone going to take a 10 minutes extra walk and they just feel guilty. So they make up so much more time. And then that takes the factor of mental health, because then they're overworking and feeling more kind of, what did they call it? I think there was a name for it. It was, uh, gosh, what's the name of it? Is zoomed out. No, there's something basically is where you've overworked and you've been on meetings back to back and you've tried to cover as much as possible to make every minute of the day count. There's a word for it. I can't remember what the word is, and I'm sure our podcast listeners are shouting it out right now, but I just can't think of what the name is. But yeah, so Dr. Mohammed Rana, do you have any more to add on this topic? I'm pretty sure you do.
Definitely. I think it's very valid points that Angela has raised. And what's interesting is that it fully aligns with our research from these 3 projects from Jordan and Egypt, for example. The data that we have collected from these 2 countries on 3 different projects, we found out a list of barriers that females faced when it comes to employment or education or the transition or senior leadership. And what's interesting is that out of these 77 barriers, when we categorize them, the first barrier was to do with mobility, the work-life balance, and managing the family commitments and childcare commitments. And it was also about people feeling safe in that environment or not. So I think the biggest category of barriers can be addressed using this simple mean of virtual working using this technology. So if they are given probably hybrid working model where they can work 3 days a week from home or 4 days, or depending on how good it works out, like at UCM, we work 5 days from home and we just have to visit the campus twice a year. And that is also optional. So, the technology can definitely address those issues, which were highlighted as the significant barriers to their employment or transition to employment or their career progression. And what we are doing here at UCM is definitely a solution to that, or a potential solution to it. So I do agree technology will definitely play a huge role in addressing this or minimizing this gender equality gap in the future.
Yeah. So we're all in agreement that it will help more people get into employment. It opens out a lot more doors, and the fact that you say about the feeling safe as well, everyone feels safe within their own home, or should feel safe, or should have the ability to feel safe within their own home. So, it's almost like, if a meeting goes wrong, you can just close your laptop at the end of it and then you can take a breath and then you can go back and work, work along. But if something does, go to plan and you do better, and then you can kind of continue and you're showing that you're being able to kind of perform within your role, regardless of your disability, regardless of your background, and regardless of your commitments or homework life.
Yeah, but there is one small caveat that I'd like to raise, is that obviously technology in predictive AI is moving quite rapidly, and we actually don't know where we're entering this realm of. There's a lot of research that goes on about algorithms within packages, for example, insurance or banking apps that do have prejudices were built within the algorithm themselves. And as we move towards more machine learning, we don't know where it's heading. So, as I mentioned before, is that, there's a real opportunity that we can actually use technology to help, for example, our recruitment and employment practices. We do have to be mindful that we're heading in a world that we actually don't know where this is going, and, whether the AI will have gender biasness or other biases and other discriminatory practices built within it is questionable. I think that's just something worth pointing out and something that we need to be mindful of as we grow and move more into more generative AI.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a strong point. And I think if we look at cyberbullying, that's a neighboring factor. So, that's where technology is not good. It's silent bullying while you're on your device, or someone passes something around and, it goes viral. So there is that, the dark side of technology, as we'd say. But it's also trying to, maybe building machines that will then kind of counteract that and help us overcome those steps. But that's definitely, with every good, that there is a silver lining to the cloud, but to help more people get out there and approach work and be able to be part of this working community and within the industry as well, whether you're designing, whether you're contributing to whatever field it might be. But at the same time, we have to be very mindful of the impacts of technology. And, it's not just the impacts of technology, but also the mental health side of it. A lot of organizations have promoted go into the office more than twice a year, just to see people and get out of that bubble that you're in constantly, and to just break that barrier, because again, you're breaking barriers in terms of seeing people and seeing your colleagues, and it's not just a colleague through a screen, it's a colleague through, it's a real person, and so it helps you with your team building, if you like. So there's lots of pros and cons to technology within this area, I think, but there seems to be more pros than cons on the face of it when we're looking at the ability to kind of work together and be more inclusive as well. Right. So it's been a very, very kind of knowledge-filled 3 podcasts here that we've created. It's been a very, very knowledge-filled podcast session, I would say, today. And I feel like I've gained a lot of knowledge. There's a lot of statistics, and I feel like I should have wrote all of the statistics. Can't even see the word. I feel like I should have written all of the statistics down in order to kind of take it on board and digest them. But some of those statistics did kind of throw me back. I didn't expect some numbers to be so high or even so low. So, in particular in Jordan, and the number of women who actually get into education, who get into employment after education, and the kind of the massive drop there. So very interesting statistics. Do you have any final points or comments that you would like to leave our listeners with today? If I start off with yourself, Dr. Mohammed Rana.
Yep, thank you. Thank you for inviting us, and it has been a pleasure. I would like to say that a lot of work has been done around the world. I have a friend in Malala Fund. He's based in the US. I was speaking to him just last night. He was saying that Malala Fund is going to spend $72 million on girls' education in different Asian countries, and mostly South Asian countries and some parts of Africa. He's working for World Bank and a consultant for United Nations, and they are all pushing towards the female education and making things easier when it comes to employment as well. So there is a lot of work that is being done, which is quite heartening. But unfortunately, we are still very far from reaching the bare minimums. We have in some sectors, but a lot of more work needs to be done. And I think what we are doing is just a drop of water in the sea. But it does matter, like Angela said earlier. What we are doing is educating people, exploring these issues, investigating them in detail, publishing it, making noise so that we can be heard and more people can take this work forward after us. So, yeah, that's all. I hope the work that we are doing will be taken forward by other people in different countries, in different parts of the world. Like Newton said, we stand on the shoulder of giants. We cannot simply innovate things every day. We just take it one step forward. And this is what our contribution is right now, taking it forward.
Well, I think is a great contribution. But what do you think we should do as listeners into this research that you've done? What do you think we should do as a call to action to kind of do our part as well within the industry?
I think everyone can do a little bit themselves in their own way. So whether that's be the role model and reaching out to supporting underrepresented groups to enter our industry, to shout about how rewarding our industry is, to challenge our own companies where there's particular practices where we don't see or pinpoint an area of discrimination. I think we've all got to maybe a little bit every day try and do something more positive to make it a better place for us all. And I think slowly then will things change. And I do think it's really important that we really try and enable ourselves and our colleagues and really make sure that we don't pull that ladder underneath us, because there is a lot of perceptions of, people climbing up the ladder and then actually, for women either wanting to be queen bee and not supporting other women or from different ethnic groups, etc. And I think it's really important, whatever we do, is that we support ourselves and each other. To call out discrimination in any form or practice and work together on improving all the barriers that exist. And I think slowly, we will get there. It's an absolutely great, rewarding industry. And like I said to you before, it's changed so much in, the years that I've been working in there. And I think there's a real positivity and energy to change. And I think it's going to look very different in the future. And that's something that I'm really excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. That sounds like a great wrap up to our podcast, to be honest. And I don't think I could have put it in any better words. But thank you so much, Professor Angela and Dr. Mohammed Rana, for your time today. It's been really insightful. I'm going to definitely take away some of these points and look at them, whether it's praising a colleague or praising someone else within the industry. But I got to start off with you two. You've done an amazing job so far. So thank you very much for all of your hard work. Yes, it's funded. Yes, it's your paid job. But do you know what? You're paving the way for the future and helping many out to kind of start off their career without that one negative aspect. So it's a very rewarding job. And really, really... really proud of you both for doing such a thing for the industry. So thank you very much for that. And thank you very much for joining us on Optimise Et al. And hope to see you all in the next episode. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.